The state of California and the Trump administration could be on a collision course. Lawmakers there over the weekend approved a bill to make California a sanctuary state, the entire state, banning police from cooperating with federal law enforcement on immigration laws. Democratic Governor Jerry Brown is expected to sign that bill into law. And this comes just days after a federal judge in Chicago ruled the administration cannot withhold funds from sanctuary cities. Marjorie Clifton, a former Obama campaign consultant, is with us today. Vince Colanese, the editorial director for the Daily Caller and host of Mornings on the Mall on WMAL Radio. Good to have you both. So, Marjorie, I'm going to start with you because it looked on first blush that we might just have a state with a lot of sanctuary cities or jurisdictions in them. Now we have an entire state. What is the end goal for people in the Democratic Party with regard to this issue?
Well, I don't know that it's a Democratic Party issue. I think it has to do with the practicalities of law. And states like Texas have come in face with this as well, because what they realize is that there are states that have very, very large immigrant populations, and their economies rely on them. They also know that most of the violent crime and issues that they have with crime aren't related to the immigrant community. They're sort of spread evenly across. So what they're trying to do is, again, they're not breaking laws. What they're doing is choosing whether they honor requests, which are not law, but requests by ICE to actually hand over people that are in their prisons. And so what they've realized is that the laws that they put in place actually create fear in those communities. And what happens is they've got conflict with law enforcement and the immigration, and people running away from police instead of running to them when they need them most. And that doesn't keep anybody safe.
You know what's kind of odd about the way that you talk about it? You're almost talking about this like we're talking about legal immigration. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who came into this country and continue to do so illegally, and then giving them a safe space in places like Chicago, where Americans are dying every weekend in shootings. I want to go to Vince. Vince?
Well, I think, she talked about how there's just too many immigrants there, too many illegal immigrants there. The reason for that is because California's been looking the other way for many years about this, and now instead of coming to terms with their problem, which is that they're the poster child for illegal immigrant crime, that now instead they're going to basically create a situation where they give sanctuary to illegal immigrants. Remember, the Kate Steinle killing in 2015 was a sanctuary city case where you had an illegal immigrant who had 5 deportations, 7 felonies, murder Kate Steinle. That all could have been prevented if they weren't in a sanctuary situation. So instead now, what is California responding with? They're using their entire legislature to serve as an arm of the Democratic Party, ultimately to scold the president through legislation after legislation after legislation, now making the entire state one giant sanctuary zone. I'm not sure how that serves the people of California who are paying taxpayer dollars into this system.
So, Marjorie, what do you say to someone like the Steinle family? And by the way, that is the most high-profile recent case. But this happens in this country. It isn't just that one. So what do you say to those people? Those American citizens.
Not just with that happens with people regardless of immigration status. I'm not dismissing that being a tragedy. And by the way, that's why the exception is in cases of violent crime or people who have had criminal activity. The people they're talking about not holding are people who are getting traffic tickets and things that are not egregious. But the bigger issue has to do with immigration policy. In our country, we have not solved that. And it is undisputable that things like housing prices would go up 30% did we not have immigrant label. Right now, we do not have good solutions for that, which is why that is something we have to solve. So law enforcement is being forced to deal with it in the way they know best to keep everybody safe. Not immigrant community, but everybody.
Immigrants in California, though, are creating a massive suck on the resources of the state. They're getting all sorts of things that most people would qualify as welfare or public services. Everything from schools to in-state tuition to driver's license to being able to use those
roads. But are they
roads.
not paying taxes as well, like everyone else, when they buy goods or when they're actually operating within the systems? I mean, that's actually not, that's false logic. But
it's true
I understand
that there are consumption taxes incurred. But how do you get to a point where you're paying an income tax?
Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that illegals are here en masse paying taxes for those things? Because when you talk to people in border states like Texas and Arizona, they're talking about the burden that they feel for those in the communities that are here illegally. Again, we got to separate this out, Marjorie, legal versus illegal.
Right, and I understand how it feels because they broke the law or it feels unjust, and that's again why we need immigration policy that creates a fair process where people paid back taxes, and that's what a lot of people propose. But this sort of rhetoric around it's this or it's that is actually false logic.
But
when you look at it, there are ways. Well,
this is not about a feeling. This is whether you broke the law or not. That's not a feeling. That's not a subjective analysis. That's an objective analysis.
All right, let's let Vince have the last word on this, Vince.
Only in this. I mean, think about this. You've got California citizens who are serving on the U.S. Border Patrol, and what you're telling them is that their efforts to try and keep people out of the country are for naught. That when people do actually make it into the country, that they can stay there.
Finish.
No, this is. I'm not your point, but the state of California's point that by doing this, by basically saying that we're going to declare our entire state a sanctuary state, that they're looking the other way. And this is, by the way, all an effort to scold the president of the United States, and you shouldn't play around with that kind of thing.
All right. Marjorie, Vince, thank you very much. Good to see you both this afternoon. Great discussion.